Howdy, howdy, howdy. I always start with the big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids, love all you guys that come out here and spend every Monday night with me talking reality TV and stories and just having fun with each other. Appreciate all you guys watching live and watching on repeat. I feel like instead of SKD 143, I should just start tonight with "Baby, it's cold outside." Hey, we're not used to it down here in Texas. We're getting some nasty stuff we're going to talk about in just a second. But before we do, welcome to all of y'all. Come in, spend some night. I've got some hot coffee, but we could call it hot cocoa as well. Do what you need to get warm. We'll talk for an hour, have a little fun, some reality TV, some cold weather stories, whatever else y'all may be interested in. But what else was it? Oh, if you haven't already done so, yeah, I feel like I say well, I do say it every week. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the Cliff Notes channel, turning on notification, maybe hitting the old thumbs up while you're out there as well. It's always appreciated. Just love having you guys hanging with me every Monday night. All right, before we talk about anything else, snow and all that, let me go out here real quick and see who's out here, and then we'll get right into it with a few stories here and there. Patricia Miller. Patricia, how are you doing, my friend? You were out here 30 minutes ahead of time. Dedication. I'm glad to see you here. Howdy, Patricia. How are you? We've got, let me get my mouse going here. Mark Taylor as well. Yeah, some questions we'll talk about here in a second. Marilyn Sutherland, Kennedy Franklin. Kenny said, how's everyone doing? It's freezing cold here in Michigan, 6 degrees. Karen Loveland say, hi, everyone. I'm snowbound in West Virginia. I'm getting ready to join the pack, the snow pack, so to speak. Yeah, we're supposed to get like 6 inches down here. All right, I'll tell this, and we'll get back to the comments. West Virginia, Michigan, y'all are kind of used to a little snow, right? Now, I know I've been to West Virginia. I've spent time there. It's got to be beautiful with all the hills and mountains and everything else. I hate to be going down some of those roads and everything with all the snow, but anyway, well, let me do the comments. Then I'll come back and talk about Houston snow. All right, so Kennedy and Carolyn, yeah, I'm joining y'all with the snow here pretty quick. Ed as well. Ed, how are you doing, sir? Carol Mosier, Desiree. I'm sorry, you said that last week, how to pronounce it, and I will try to do better. I'm reading through this thing so fast. But Desiree, how are you doing? Amanda as well. Howdy, Amanda. Michelle, if I didn't mention your name already. Audrey Cobb, Wyatt Garrett. Howdy, Wyatt. Cindy, I'm glad to see you out here. How are you doing? Alexandra, cold Wisconsin. Yeah, cold everywhere, isn't it? Lynn Gideon and Ed. I think I mentioned you before, but we'll do that. Guys, I hope y'all are all doing well. We'll talk a little reality TV, a little cold and everything else. Let me tell y'all a little story about Houston. Now, first of all, can you see? I'm ready for the cold weather, sort of. We just don't get it down here. They came out, they're predicting 5 to 6 inches of snow tomorrow, plus a whole lot of ice. Every school, every office is shut down for the next couple of days. We're just, for the next 40 hours, we are closed down for business. We'll see what it's like on Thursday. They came out, they've got our county judge who handles a lot of administrative stuff here in the city. She did an interview, talk about how bad it was going to be potentially. And they said, so Judge Hidalgo, if when the snows come, you know, are y'all going to have some snow plows out? I think it was Judge Hidalgo. Anyway, the person they're talking to, are y'all going to have some snow plows to at least open up some of the more critical highways and streets here in the city of Houston for the next day or two? And they started laughing and said, you know, we don't have snow plows down here in Houston. They said, well, how are you going to deal with all the snow and ice? She said, we're going to wait for it to melt. And we're going to assume that people aren't going to be on the roads until it's melted. So that is the response down here in Texas, at least as part of Texas, of, yeah, we can't handle snow. We'll just wait till it melts. I have lived here long enough. And I'll tell you what, I've driven with people in parts of the world who know how to drive on snow and ice. That ain't Houston. People have no clue how to drive down here. The most dangerous, the most entertaining drive I ever had was one time having to drive to a location. I shouldn't have, but I did. Watching every 100 feet or so, a car spinning. It was like bumper pool, watching these cars. Just because you have a 4-wheel drive, you've got a 3/4 ton F-150 pickup truck that's on lifts, and you got all kinds of fancy neon and everything. it doesn't help you when you're sliding not the tiniest little bit. People just don't understand that down here in Houston. We love big trucks. We don't love the ice so much. So there you go. So with all that being said, yeah, I figured we'd talk a little bit snow and ice this evening because I'm just kind of giddy like a child. As a kid, I loved going out. We didn't get a lot of snow and ice up in Dallas-Fort Worth, but a couple of times a year, enough we could go out and make like wee little snowmen. We're gonna get a lot of it down here. So yeah, maybe I'll be out doing snow angels or I don't know, practicing to be on Naked and Afraid. I'll just run around in a Speedo out in the front yard and make snow angels like that. That would make a heck of a TikTok video, right? If only. But I guess I won't be able to do that TikTok video now. All right, a few comments as we get into it. First of all, Mark Taylor, what did you think of this week's Traitors? Let me ask y'all a question real quick, because last week we started talking about the Traitors and Deal or No Deal Island both. And I was trying to protect people who hadn't seen it yet by not putting out any spoilers. It's hard to talk about it though with that. So a question for those of you, and it'll be based on the comments. So if you're not making comments, please consider doing so real quick. Should we include spoilers when we talk about those two shows over the next few weeks, or do we need to keep it spoiler free? If we talk about it, I'm still going to try to issue spoiler warnings, but I'll feel a little bit more comfortable talking about some of the results. But if enough of y'all say, no, we haven't seen it yet, we'd rather you not, then we'll do it that way. Please put your comments down. Sharon will count it up for me. And I'll go based on what y'all think as far as how much we reveal that information. Because I want to talk about those shows. I just need to figure out how to talk about it. All right, that makes sense. We'll do that. All right, Marcus said, what happened to your Houston Texans? My Lions didn't do much better. Yeah, the Lions were not expecting to go home just yet, right? I mean, I thought y'all had a clear path all the way to the Super Bowl potentially. Not the case. My Texans, yeah, at least we were playing the Chiefs. I went in thinking, I think they were 7-point favorites, some 8-point favorites. So for us to even be competitive towards the end was, I thought they did okay. We just couldn't kick the freaking football. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot with our football game. So, man, on to another year. I'm 59 years old, and I've, for about 56 years of that, been saying, man, there's always next year. Yeah, my Texans, my Aggies, both. I'm through with football now. I watch a little basketball, but I'm ready for baseball. I'm ready for college baseball, especially. That's my next big sport that I'm really into. I know we've got the national championship. I think it's taking place tonight, right? Ohio State, Notre Dame. I don't know who I would cheer for on that one. I hope it's a good, hard-fought battle. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, my Texans didn't do so well. They came so dang close. I've always been a huge Chiefs fan. I just kind of a backup team. I like their fans. I like the way they travel. They just are getting to be a little bit like Dallas Cowboy fans sometimes, where there's just a little bit of arrogance where you just kind of say, oh, I just kind of want to see someone else get their turn for a little while. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next week. See who goes to Super Bowl. All right. Yes to spoilers. I'm being told that is a primary deal. All right. With that being said, let's talk about the Traitors and let's talk about Deal or No Deal Island. All right. Carol Mosier is saying, what did you think of Boston Rob's move on Traitors, and do you think he'll be banished soon? Just in relation, Mark said, what did I think about last week? All right. First of all, spoiler alert. If you have not seen the first 4 episodes of Traitors, turn it off for about 5 minutes or so. I'll try to give you a come on back or something once we're done talking, but just mute it for a little bit because I'm going to spoil it for you. All right. With that being said, I tell you what, Boston Rob called out Bob the drag queen, didn't he? Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with the Traitors this season. Fedra, I mean, there's been people who I thought have done a fantastic job in past seasons being a traitor. I just feel like Danielle and even Rob, and Bob as well, I feel like they're talking too much and they're trying to get too involved in every conversation to be a good traitor. Carolyn, I think, is doing a fantastic job. I liked her on Survivor. I'm liking her even more, if that's possible, here on the Traitors. she's a quirky individual, isn't she? Now, I thought when I watched her on Survivor, that was just, it's just her playing up or whatever. I look forward to meeting her in real life to see if is that just her? I kind of hope so, because she's quite the fun person to watch the game. I think she's playing a brilliant game as far as Traitors go. Did Boston Rob do the right thing? I think in some ways he did. It worried me a little bit because he basically went after Bob the drag queen because he felt like Bob threw him under the bus. Didn't Bob say something like, hey, one of those last three that came in, one of them's got to be a traitor, right? Ed saying Boston Rob making moves he's not long for this game. Well, that's what would worry me, and it seems like maybe that could be the case. And then Cindy Hire saying was sad about the last banishment. I didn't know Bob the drag queen. I think it's funny you've said that over. I didn't really know Bob the drag queen before the traitor. Was he on RuPaul? I don't watch it. Maybe I don't watch one of those seasons and do comments on that. That could be kind of fun. But no, I didn't really know who he was until he came on. He was quite the character as well, right? But I feel like Bob talked too much and tried to take too much control, and people started mentioning that or noticing it. It worried me a little bit because Bob basically got banished because Rob felt he threw him under the bus by saying, one of these last three guys, Wes and Rob and who was the third person that just came in? Tell me, I forgot anyway. Saying one of them's got to be a traitor. That worries me because I would have been thinking the same thing. If I'm playing that game, if I'm a faithful, when those last three show up, I'm immediately going to say one of those three has got to be a traitor. There's no way around it. And Rob or someone probably would have been coming after me the same way. I'm learning in Traitors, it doesn't matter how certain you are about something. You got to hold your tongue because you don't know, no matter how comfortable you think you're talking to someone who's not a traitor, you don't know for sure. And all it takes is one little comment like that to bury you. So short term, I think it was a great idea of Rob to do it. He, in a lot of ways, he really, by calling Bob out the way he did and being so vocal about it, I think a lot of people said, oh, well, obviously he can't be a traitor if that's the case. Here's what got me, and I think someone mentioned it at the end, and it's as soon as I watched, I mentioned it to Sharon. When Rob said, look, if he's not a traitor, send me home next. Then as soon as I heard that, I immediately thought, well, how do you know? I mean, you can make your best guess that he is, but to say, I know to the point of you send me home if I'm wrong, as someone, was it Wes who pointed out, said the only way he would know that is if he is a traitor as well. And I felt like that was Boston Rob's biggest mistake, is he probably overplayed just a little bit that thing. I think what he probably should have done is said, look, I'm like 80% sure. I'm certain enough that if I'm wrong, then maybe I don't know how to play this game, and maybe, yeah, send me home next or whatever, because I'm pretty sure it's him, but I wouldn't have acted quite as certain as he did because it just almost came out a little too obvious. So yeah, now it looks like when he did it, I thought it was a great move. I still kind of think it was, but now he's faced with enemies from both sides. It seems like the other traitors are upset with him, Danielle and and Carolyn. They're upset with him that he kind of betrayed the traitors, and now everyone else is thinking maybe there could be something to it. I don't know. I'm worried about Boston Rob, but it was a fun episode to watch, wasn't it? Alexandra Alberts is saying Danielle is not playing too well. The acting on Traitors is hard. I know, and I'm not there, right? And it's easy when you're seeing just an hour edit out of a day's worth of conversations for them just to show a few conversations that seem to make their acting a little bit worse than possible. I mean, it's easy for us to say how bad some of the acting is, but I just feel like they're overplaying it. And I think about Big Brother things like, could I have done a little differently? Could I act better? And say, I don't know what's going on. I think so, but again, it's hard. I'm not going to judge too much because it's a little bit like Big Brother in that it only takes one comment, one off the cuff comment, and someone's going to immediately start pointing the finger at you because of it. I still remain convinced that if I'm playing the game, first half of the season, I don't care who the traitor is. Maybe it's Bob the drag queen. Maybe it's Boston Rob. I don't care. I'll work with you anyway. Let me work with you because then hopefully that means you won't send me out the door. In exchange, I won't send you out the door during the round table, and we'll deal with the whole traitor faithful stuff halfway down the road. I really feel like the first half of the season, you shouldn't even care about trying to get out a traitor. It's all about getting out the people who are going to be the quickest to point the finger at you. And that's all that should matter. But again, I love Traitors. It's a great game. I noticed on Netflix, there's a lot of other countries' Traitors out there. Australia, I know Angie has told me about the UK version as well. I have to check out some other seasons, how that works. All right, Car Wash Wash is saying they act too impulsively. I think so. And again, I just feel like they're trying to be too involved, and they're responding too quickly to too much stuff. Anytime, think of the old Barney Fife from Andy. Well, got to nip it in the bud, nip it in the bud. Anytime they hear something that seems like it's pointing their direction, they immediately nip it in the bud. I think you'd be better off saying, yeah, maybe, but I kind of, I'm thinking differently. But all right, Cindy Hire saying Rob is a danger to himself. He's got to go. I would be fine. I'm looking forward to an episode where Rob is under threat and see how he responds when there's a lot of fingers pointing at him. He usually is working from a power advantage. People are scared. Think of it this way. After Rob called out Bob the drag queen, are you going to be too eager to speak up against Rob, knowing that he's going to call out the same way? He's done that in other game shows, reality shows, Survivor, and everything else as well. Create enough fear of, I don't want to go against him because he is such a dangerous person to go against. And as a result, people shut up and he gets a little bit further down the road. So, yeah, it's going to take someone with a lot of oomph to go against him. But I want to see how he responds when it looks like he may be getting voted out at a round table. And he was willing to sacrifice Bob the drag queen. Seems entirely feasible that Danielle and Carolyn could maybe be willing to out Rob in the same way, right? Why not? All right, Carol Mosier is saying, plus Bob voted Rob. Yeah, Bob didn't do a whole lot of favors to Rob either as he went out the door. I felt like he, I don't know. I feel like there must be a rule that you can't, no matter what, you can't call out any of the other traitors. And that makes sense. You kind of ruin the show if you're upset at the end and you say, oh, and the other three traitors are blank, blank, blank. Yeah, I think the producers would not be so happy with that particular situation. So, yeah. Can I just say, beyond the strategy part, so cool playing that game in that castle. Now, I'm a little disappointed to find out they don't actually get to spend the night in the castle. They go stay at a hotel. I think I mentioned that last week. Go stay in a hotel elsewhere. But just the challenges they have. They put 3 people in a coffin. They nailed someone, Jeremy, right? They nailed his coffin, sent him out the door. I just love the back. I love Alan Cummings, the host. I love the setting of it. You know, Big Brother house, not quite as fancy as a Scottish castle. Maybe they ought to theme it similar. That'd be cool. All right, speaking. All right, let me do this first. Are we about through with that? I think so. Cindy saying there's a New Zealand Traitors. I got to check that as well. So yeah, with that, I think I'm done with spoilers. So any of y'all who are waiting for me, come on back. Spoilers. We'll stop with the Traitor spoilers for just a second. While I'm thinking of it, Big Brother casting. I don't know if y'all saw it. February 10th, Jesse Tannenbaum, who now handles casting. He didn't handle it while I was doing Big Brothers, Robin Cast, but now Jesse, he handles Big Brother, The Amazing Race, Survivor. He's kind of got a grip on the CBS reality shows, right? But Jesse Tannenbaum posted on, I think, Instagram, February 10th is when they're going to either start looking at videos for Big Brother 27 or start accepting videos for Big Brother 27. Not quite sure. Go out and check out the page, but it's right around the corner, my friends. February 27th. And before you know it, just a few months later, Big Brother 27. It seems like a high number all of a sudden. They're going to be doing that. March 23rd was when I showed up, did my casting call. I always remember that date. So yeah, February 10th, get your videos in early, and important things, get them in. Anyone who's doing a video, always feel free to reach out to me on DM. If you got any questions, I'll tell you what I can. I don't know the magic formula necessarily. But I'll give you my input where I can as well, because I want to get one of y'all on Big Brother or The Amazing Race or Survivor or Traitors. I just want to get y'all on TV so we can watch some of this. All right, let's see what Ed saying hated seeing Jeremy go out like that. Yeah, I love Jeremy when he was on Survivor. I was cheering for, some seasons you kind of, yeah, okay, that person be okay. I was cheering for Jeremy. I just thought he was kind of a badass, a firefighter. And just a very nice person, it seemed like. I have not met him in person. I'd like to one of these days. But yeah, I didn't feel like he got enough play in that show just yet. You never know. I mean, there's some folks happening that that I really didn't know before the show, and I want to go check out some of Bob the Drag Queen stuff now. I think he over. Well, no, we'll see. Yeah, I want to check out a few different people. All right, let's see. Lynn Gideon is saying that sucks. They don't get to stay in the cast. I agree. I'd be begging to just let me stay in the game to stay there. I agree. Yeah, I'd be doing that. Yeah, you're probably right. Hey, I've already been booted. Can I just stay in, I don't know, servants' quarters in the back? It's probably still amazingly incredible. I've seen Downton Abbey and all that. I'm okay staying up in the upper attic, leaning out the window with the hay because there's no air heating up there or something. I don't need much just to say I've stayed in the castle would be kind of cool. I got to go to Aberdeen. I've been to Aberdeen quite a few times because I work in oil and gas, and that's kind of the oil and gas capital of Scotland. But I went one time and I had to stay over a weekend and got a chance to rented a car and went and took the castle tour and just drove around and saw these castles. Some of them are in ruins. There's nothing. It's just like a few walls, and you can kind of see how it was positioned and all. That was kind of cool. But then there's some that are kind of historical monuments. They're like museums and things. They've been renovated. They look much like they did back when they were working as forts, forts, castles, etc. And that was kind of cool. But some of them are castles that people live in, and you take tours of certain parts, but it's actually owned by such and such rich family for the last 400 years or whatever, and they still have it in their family. And you come up on those castles, and it's just incredible seeing those things and knowing how long they've been around. I went to one, and while I was up on the upper level, I looked down and there was a whole pipe and fifer corps, whatever, bagpipers walking down the center playing music, and I just easily could be just transmitted back to another time. Speaking of Outlander, Sharon and I love Outlander. I haven't even started this last season because I just got too much going on, but me checking out Outlander. I go back. My family roots are Scottish, so I like to pretend that somewhere 300 years ago there was old Sir William McHogg or something running around yelling freedom and painting his face blue and wearing kilts with nothing underneath and all that. And you gotta go back for a little while for that. But yeah, I'm ready for Outlander too. Going off on tangent, but that's what this is all about sometimes, right? All right, let's see what we've got there. I want to watch Outlander. Highlander is one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. Sean Connery, it's perfect. I love Highlander. All right, Andy W is saying, can't wait to see The Amazing Race. I am ready for it. I can't remember when it premieres now. I want to say like March 8th or 3rd or so. Early March, it's going to premiere. I'm looking forward to it. I saw a little spoiler, and I won't mention it here because I'm not sure how official it is, but apparently someone took some pictures of some of the racers somewhere. But I heard a couple of countries they're going to, and I just put this up. I've been to one or two of the countries that they've been to so far, so that's always kind of cool. I always enjoy watching Amazing Race when they're in a country I've never been to before, because most of the time I stay there and say, God, that'd be kind of a cool place to go visit. But then the countries I've been to, it's always fun talking to my family about, oh yeah, I remember when I did this or I did that. So that'll be fun. One of the countries I'd love to go to, and they went there just, I think, a couple of seasons ago, Vietnam. Be cool. I'd love to go somewhere where there hadn't been a lot of American influence yet, where you don't have a Starbucks or McDonald's on every other block corner. Just, I don't know, just to see something a little bit different. So yeah, I'm excited for Amazing Race when it starts up. All right, Karen Loveland is saying, what's in the water in the picture behind you? It's a brown blob. I hope that's not a body. That would be my body if I jumped in that way. It wouldn't. because I guarantee I was still looking for polar bear plunges and everything else. If I was to jump in that water, I wouldn't even get wet above my ankles. I would look like the second coming of Christ, because I would be walking on water because my body would reject that level of temperature in the water. I cannot stand, I've told y'all before, I cannot stand cold water. It is my phobia more than anything else in the world. Lord, if they had put me in, if Big Brother had had some kind of freezing cold competition, Survivor, Amazing Race, Naked and Afraid, don't give me the cold stuff. I can't stand it. I spent too many nights, primarily nights, a few days, but mainly nights working on oil rigs in West Texas when it was 30 degrees and I'm covered in water and mud and the wind's blowing. And I just remember thinking how miserable I was for hours and hours on end. I remember being on an oil rig one time. It was so cold. How cold was it? It was so cold that we took 5-gallon buckets of kerosene, lit them on fire on every corner of this rig just to try to create some heat to stay warm, which is incredibly stupid. You're on an oil rig that sprays all kinds of oil and gas. You probably shouldn't have live flames anywhere close to it. And yet we were so miserable. We thought, well, we'd rather take that chance than spend a second more in this cold temperature. Yeah, I do not like cold water at all. Sharon laughs. We go to the lake or somewhere, and if it's not a perfectly normal or slightly warm temperature, it takes me an hour to get into the water because I just have to work my way down an inch at a time and get used to it. I don't like it. So yeah, I don't know what the what that brown blob is either. It would, I don't know, maybe it's a walrus or something. I don't know. Maybe it's, hey, if you're gonna do polar bear plunges and swimming and everything, I might as well. I think I'd do it naked. So maybe they just blurt out the big fat guy doing a naked polar bear plunge. I would, because I don't want to get out of the water and have old drippy, freezing cold water hanging off me anywhere. So I'm in and out in about 3 seconds inside. You would never see someone run as quick as me after falling in freezing cold water and having to make it back up to a cabin or an indoor, whatever it may be. This whole deal with these ice water baths and all that, yeah, not my thing. Back when, remember the ice bucket challenge when I had that? Yeah, I donated money before I poured ice water over my head. Just not into it. So now that y'all know that, every reality show, if they put me on there, I can pretty much guarantee they're going to have some kind of freezing cold water just to see how I respond. And I'll tell you right now, I ain't going to like it. All right, Karen Loveland saying, are you wearing a Snuggie? Why, yes, I am. Cold, hating the cold doesn't translate just to water, just life in general. Thank God I'm from Texas because I love the heat. It can be 120 degrees outside. I drink enough water, I'll be fine with that. The cold weather, man, just don't like it. One of the coolest things I ever did, and I showed y'all a picture, I think last week when I was in Moscow in January, and that was kind of cool, being on Red Square and seeing the Basilica and Gum's department store and Lenin's tomb, and I'm doing it all with snow coming down everywhere, and the Russian guards have their big bear hats, fur hats, and all that. That was cool. But other places I've been where it's cold, not nearly as cool whatsoever. I'll tell you a story too on that in a second. Patricia Miller is saying, I've been watching Silo. All right, Patricia, thank you for that. For those of you who haven't checked it out, I haven't checked it out either, but I actually read the books when they came out. It's been a few years. I feel like probably 4, 5, 6 years, a lot. I think probably before I even went on Big Brother. So it's been a while when I read the books, and my daughter just happened to mention that it was on, they'd made it into a series. They're cool books. So yeah, I need to check that out. Just not enough hours in a day, but yeah, thank you for that. I want to check out Silo. Jay is saying, are you covering Big Brother again this year? Yeah, I think I've got to, right? By the time I get to the end, there's a sweet spot. The first week or two, it's hard because so many people are talking, and it's tough to really take all those conversations and cut them down to a 20, 30-minute recap every morning. And I still have a regular 9-to-5 job. So it takes a bit out of me to start. And then at the very end, it gets a little boring when there's only 3 or 4 people. But there's that incredible sweet spot where you're like 12, 13 people down to 5 or 6, where I just love the night strategies and people not sure where they're going to go in terms of alliances and targets and all of that. So yeah, I'll plan on covering Big Brother again. I'm going to try to do it the same way of watching all night long and then doing a recap afterwards. It was a little tough this last season because they got rid of the replay feature on the viewer for the deal. So I've got to figure out a little bit better way to make that work. I figured out a way to record it, but it was still not real easy for me to go back and forth. And it was tough trying to keep track of 2 conversations, recording like that. So yeah, I got a few things to figure out, but yeah, I'll come back and cover Big Brother again. I love all these other reality shows, but at the end of the day, Big Brother, it's always going to be my first love, so to speak. So yeah, I'll cover that. All right, let's see what else we've got on here. Cindy saying, how about last week of Deal or No Deal Island? Yeah, we'll talk about that real quick. So once more, spoilers are in the spoilers alert. We're going to talk a little bit about Deal or No Deal Island. So if you haven't seen it, just come back in a couple months. We'll go quick on this one. I like Deal or No Deal Island. I think they've, I guess I'm an engineer. When it comes to the end where they're being given these offers by the banker and all of that, and the odds come up, I'm always a little disappointed at the end. We had this week, at one point, they had an offer that was there were 4 suitcases left, briefcases left, right? They got an offer that was higher than 3 and less than a 4th one. So the only way for them not to stay was if they accepted that deal, they had a 3 in 4 chance of staying, of the deal being better than what that was in their suitcase, right? So it was a 75% chance that they were going to survive if they took the deal when they did. And they did. And so applause to them for figuring it out, because if they hadn't done it and they pulled another suitcase and it was one of the lower of the 3 numbers, the odds say it was going to be one of the lower 3 numbers, then when they got an offer, they were only going to have a 2 in 3 chance. And if they hadn't taken that, then a 1 in 2 chance. Yes, the dollar values would have gone up higher, but their risk to their game would have gone up so much. So yeah, I think the week before, that guy, was his name, Lucas, where he didn't go with the odds. He was just being a cowboy, I guess, a little bit, and wanting to get more money than he thought was going to be there otherwise. And he paid the price. At least they did it this season. But the one thing I don't like quite as much about it is that you reach a point when the dealer offers you a deal where you're suddenly hoping that your suitcase has a low number value instead of a high number value, because then it's going to, if you take the deal, you survive and all of that. I don't like the fact that there's a point where anyone is praying that they have a super low number inside their briefcase, their suitcase. I wish they would tweak that, the way that gameplay goes, just a little bit. But having said all that, I love the show. I love the strategies involved in the competitions and how they pick the different suitcases and all of that. We will see how Dr. Will does when he plays this game. He showed up, chastised everyone for being horrible players because they only put $1 in a pot. Well, all I could think was there was only one horrible player here, Dr. Will, and he went home. Don't be blaming that on the other people. They had nothing to do with it. That was one guy who picked that briefcase, one guy who chose to keep working his way down to $1. So yeah, it was unfair for Dr. And I know he's just trying to give everyone else a hard time. I will take issue with one thing that one thing for now that Dr. Will said. He showed up and said, I'm the greatest Big Brother player that has ever played the game. I'm going to argue against that. I would throw out quite a few names from later seasons who I think, let me put it this way. I think if Dr. Will tried to play Big Brother All-Stars or just played any season of Big Brother now, I think he would get run over and booted a whole lot earlier than he thinks he would. He had the advantage of playing a very early season when people maybe didn't understand the strategies as much. Now, he's an innovator. I'll give credit to him that some of his saying, I hate all of you. I'm not going to help any of y'all. Kind of some reverse psychology. There's some things he did well in his game, but to say that he's better than some of the greats that we've had since then, I'm going to dispute that a little bit. I think it would be a much tougher game if Dr. Will came back and played. But having said all that, yeah, you got to come in and flaunt it a little bit when you come in like he does. But here's a question I wonder. Are people going to want to work with Dr. Will, or are they going to be afraid to? I think there could easily be people who are willing to work with him. Now, it does seem like, based on the previews, that he blows Poverty's cover about her being survivor and all. It seems like half the island knew already, but officially, formally, it seems like he blows her cover, which makes me think Poverty and Dr. Will probably aren't going to have the best relationship going forward. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I'd kind of like to see Poverty go against him and vice versa, and see of the greats who wins out in that particular battle. So we'll see. But now I enjoyed this show. Certainly better results. I didn't get just another dollar added to the briefcase. Yeah, I like the way they're playing. I think I like the cast again this season. It's still a little bit early, but it seems like you've got some people. The girl who went home, she just offended some people by trying to claim too much credit for the week before, and that'll always cost you no matter what game you're playing. People want you to kiss up to it. They want you to kiss the ring. And I know I did that in Big Brother a lot. I remember when they booted me before I won the battle back, and I had Holly and Mickey. Oh, we did it just because it was best strategy. We knew you'd come back. No, I knew you didn't care if I went home. Don't be making up all this other stuff. But you can't say that. You got to kiss the ring. You got to kiss up to it. Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all watching out for it. Yeah, no matter what you're feeling inside, sometimes you got to give credit, even if it isn't always deserved. You've got to make sure other people in these games feel important. She didn't do it, and I feel like that's one of the reasons that she went home when she did. But it's fun watching them all try to figure out how to play this game because it's so different from some of these other reality games. All right, Karen Loveland is saying, got the sequel to 1 Second After by William R. Forston. It's titled 1 Year After, another 3 years later. All right, for those of you who don't know, we talked, I think it was last week, about this book, 1 Second After. What happens if you have this big EMP attack and all the motors and electricity and everything shut down across the whole United States, and how this one city survives? I think they're in West Virginia, again, somewhere in the Appalachians, perhaps. And so, but I did not know there was a sequel until you mentioned it last week. So 1 year after, I'll definitely check. I love those kind of books. Maybe that's why I like Survivor when it first came out, because I've always imagined me as the Robinson Crusoe, the castaway Tom Hanks guy without the aching tooth. That was brutal. But I've always pictured, if I was just stuck out in the middle of nowhere, could I survive? Could I live off the land and figure out how to trap or eat algae or whatever and survive? So yeah, 1 second after, 1 year after, trying to bring civilization back from the brink. That's my kind of reading. So I'll definitely check that out. I appreciate the title. That'll make it a lot easier to find. All right, let's see what else we've got on here. Cindy is saying, anyone watch the new Hollywood Squares? I saw an ad for it. I haven't checked it out yet, but I need to. And then Ed saying, no, it's like the classic Who's Center Square compare with Paul Lynde. Nah, that'd be tough to do. Karen Loveland is saying Drew Barrymore is the new Center Square. All right, well, I'd give that a shot, I guess. I'm not going to say that I think of Drew Barrymore with the off-the-cuff quips the way Paul Lynde had. As a kid, I loved watching the old Hollywood Squares because was it Paul Lynde and who was the woman? Was it Ruth Buzzy? I don't remember. There were a few people who were always just a little risque, especially back then. You know, the little off-color humor. And as a kid, I'd watch that. I get it. We watch Hollywood Squares, and Match Game was another one we watched where they're always a little risque with their humor and all that. But yeah, Paul Lynde, he was like Robin Williams. For those of you who may not remember quite that far back, like Robin Williams, he very quick with his improv and his responses and all. I say that they probably all had all the questions and answers known to them days ahead of time, long enough for them to write up their shtick and all that. Probably, but I'll give it a shot. I kind of like the idea of Hollywood Squares and helping out people win money. I didn't know it was back. I mean, I saw the ad. I just hadn't really thought about it until you mentioned it. Okay. So much stuff for me to watch. I'll watch it right after I finish up Outlander. I did finish Landman. Oh, for those of you who haven't watched Landman yet, watch it. It's a little hokey at times. There's a whole lot more involvement with drug cartels, which are there drug cartels out in West Texas? Yeah, I'm probably. Are they interfering with oil and gas operations the way they showed on that show? No. I spent many years working on those oil rigs in very isolated places. I never felt like I was in the midst of a narco movie, or you just don't see it the way they showed on it. The closest I ever came to that kind of situation, I was down in Venezuela, was there for, gosh, 6 weeks or so working. It's while Sharon was pregnant with my son, Daniel. That was a little iffy being in a foreign country while she was pregnant. But I was down there for 6 weeks working, helping in the country and all that. And at one point they said, hey, Cliff, we've got some wells that the client wants someone to go take a look at, see what kind of condition they're in. If you think they could get them going again, would you be willing to go see these wells and check them out? Well, yeah, sure, I guess so. Where are they at? Oh, they're out in the jungle. They're in the middle of nowhere. Oh, well, that's kind of cool. I can maybe do the go see the jungle. That's kind of a cool thing to do. They called me back and said, no, it's like 10 miles from the border with Colombia. And if you go there, you're going to get kidnapped by the narco terrorist. And next thing you know, they're going to be charging a ransom. And my fear was, I don't know if they really were willing to pay the ransom amount they wanted to. Hold on a second, guys. Real quick, just a little departure here. My battery's showing low, and I sure don't want this thing to shut down. Let's see if that does it. Can you see if it's plugged in? Sorry, I got my manager, Sharon, helping me out a little bit. Yeah, I'd hate for it to shut down right in the middle of this. I may, oh, yeah, it's unplugged. Hold on a second. If I turn off, you know why. It's not because of the freeze, just because I'm not smart enough to plug in a power cord on the computer. Won't do it there. All right. Just a second. All right, let's see what else we can do. I'm gonna do a little song and answer. Talk about Paul Lynde a little bit more. Hold on a second, guys. Minor technical. I'll do like David Letterman used to do. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, here. No, it's not. It's not. Hold on a second. Bear with me, guys. All right. Hold on a second, guys. I will be right back. All right. Sorry about that. Actually, Sharon had it fixed and I just couldn't see my little thing, but I think we got it going. I hope so. If not, guys, we'll go. We'll go as long as if I shut down, trust me, I'm okay. All right. So they wouldn't let me go to the jungle because it was like 10 miles from the border with Colombia, and they were worried about the closest I've ever come to having to deal with cartels and all of that. But other than that, Landman, fantastic show. So check that out. And you do that, and I'll check out Hollywood Squares. How about that? All right. Paul Long is saying, going with Dan Giesling as the best player, it'd be hard for me to argue against that. Dan was fantastic. Lynn Gideon is saying Dr. Will was good because he was season 2. I agree with that. We love Derek. Also adore Janelle. I agree with both of you on that. Ed saying he'd be steamrolled today, and Ma saying I love Janelle. Ma, how are you doing? I didn't see you went out there earlier. I agree with all of those comments. Not that he wasn't a good player. He and Boogie, I mean, they got, he won. But yeah, I think Janelle, Dan, Derek, I'll throw Vanessa Russo, maybe one of my favorite players who hasn't won the game. Her and me. But no, I think there's several players who, and I'm not just saying that because people would know who he was and all of that. I think it's a different game than when he played the game. If he tried to play it now the way he played it back then, I just don't think he'd last. I know, well, you got no heat off of him. No, I could use some generational term. I'd probably get in trouble if I did, but because I'd use it wrong. But yeah, I think he's a great guy and a great player. I think that's a little presumptuous to think that you're the best of all time. I don't know that we'll ever know that for certain. He'd be in my top 10, 20, very top 10, but not probably even in my top 5. He's gonna come after me, right? Y'all are gonna post this, and now I've got Dr. Will as some kind of enemy. No, I love you, guy. I met him once at the round table. Didn't really get a chance to talk to him at the end of our season at that round table because I wasn't there until after it started, and then he was out as soon as it was over. But yeah, well, we'll be curious. I'll be curious to see how Deal or No Deal goes with him doing that. All right, Karen is saying a dog with a cigar in the top left corner. All right. All right. Is that code to no, is that the duck, the StreamYard duck up over here? I think, yeah, it's a duck. I use StreamYard, which is a free service that lets me not only record these, but then post it to YouTube. And also it lets me have the comments off on the side. That's my favorite part. So I can see what y'all are typing and responding to and all of that live. So yeah, we'll do that. All right, Lynn Gaines, I love seeing the very unlikely friendships that form my big brother, Janelle and Kaiser, Marcellus and Amy. I agree. And that was my favorite part about being on the show as well. Getting to become friends with Ovi and Nicole. I mean, Ovi from Tennessee, Nicole from Long Island. I would have never met either one of them if it wasn't for Big Brother. And we were different stages of life. And yeah, it was just such a cool thing to get to know some of those other people. And I'll say that for everyone in that house. Even the ones that I wasn't as close to at times. I loved it. That was my favorite part of that show, was getting to meet a lot of people who also were in there trying to play the game. Someone like Christy, a New Jersey girl, lesbian, just knowing that a cowboy old man from Texas had any business meeting, and yet it was so much fun getting to spend a summer with them and hearing different viewpoints. And yeah, I loved every one of those other 15 that were in that house. I loved hanging with them, and it hurt every time we had to send someone home. Now, sometimes it hurt more than others from a strategy standpoint, but yeah, I agree with you absolutely, Lynn. Seeing some of these relationships form. It's like last season on Deal or No Deal Island. I thought it was really cool. Boston Rob formed that friendship with was his name Ian? I can't remember the younger guy, kind of how do you say? Not the most athletic kind of guy, and just a little bit different from Boston Rob. And they formed this alliance. I thought it was incredibly cool to watch that. You know what I like about relative the friendships I love. I just like to see the unexpected when people surprise you. Hopefully, most of the time, it's when you expect not a lot from someone, and they turn around and do it. Like Carolyn from the Traitors. I will say, when she first did Survivors, I was like, yeah, she's a little flighty. And yet I saw something out of her. There's the same way Kat from my season. When she first came in, I was like, yeah, she's just this girl from Dallas. She just is here for Instagram influencing and all that and social media. They're as shallow as it comes. And then I got to know her, and incredible woman, smart, got a plan. She's got an agenda for what she wants to do with life. And yeah, having people surprise you, I think is the fun of watching any show where you have regular unknown people showing you hopefully their true selves, as opposed to watching dramas where they're just playing a role and you don't really know anything about them at all. All right, let's see. We've got Paul saying Soprano and Ozark flashbacks. I haven't finished Ozarks. It was gone for a while. I've got that last bit of that last season to watch. Sopranos. All I can think is the intro music now when you say that. 2 classic shows. I've loved them both. All right, let's see. Another show. I don't know if y'all are watching Mr. Beast show. The third reality show that I'm really hooked on right now. Never watched a lot of Mr. Beast on YouTube. I think Mr. Beast show is actually on Amazon Prime. So if you get that, and if you've got Amazon Prime, then you should get the video part as well. He's giving away like $5 million. It started off with 1,000 people. It's called Beast Games. So it's Mr. Beast, but the show's called Beast Games. Started off with 1,000 people giving away $5 million. And I think he's down to 25 people now. And there have been people who were offered. Now get this. There were people who were offered $1 million to quit, walk away with a check or a suitcase, I guess, surely a check of $1 million. The catch was that they had to basically betray their team of, I don't know, 50 people or something. If they betrayed their team, they took $1 million, but then those other 49 people got sent home. So it was all about, do you screw over 49 people and take the money, or do you stay loyal to them and you don't take the money? I gotta say, I'm a pretty loyal guy. I think I proved that in Big Brother, maybe to my detriment, but there's no way I'm not taking $1 million. If you ask me, if Sharon or my kids were in that group, would I still take the money? Yeah, but it's because I'd be sharing it with them. But yeah, but that would $1 million. What a life changer. And no one took it. It absolutely blew me away. I know it blew away the Beast folks as well. Mr. Beast, incredible. And one of those people who turned it down, then he went home with nothing. He got eliminated. He could have had $1 million. He went home with, I think they got $2,000 each just for playing the game. He's going to spend the rest of his life saying, God, I could have had $1 million in the bank, but instead I was loyal to a bunch of people I only knew for 4 or 5 days. And now maybe one of them won $5 million. They aren't, it just would drive me bonkers. It's an interesting game though, to see what people are willing to do, what kind of betrayal they're willing to do just for play of straight up money. It's a cool game. It's a little bit like Squid Game for those of you who've seen it. Squid Game, they started with what, 500 or something. And so not quite as many people. It was up to, and it's in Korean won or whatever, but a lot of money. So it's a similar type situation, but I just feel like Squid Game, it's a little bit more a battle. Can you do these different kids games to survive? Mr. Beast, it's all about, can you betray or do better than another person? It's all head to head or group versus group type stuff. Some of it's persuasion, some of it's physical, some of it's mental. There's just a lot of different things that come into play. I'm just amazed the amount of money that goes into some of these shows to give people money as a winning prize and see what they're willing to do. $5 million. You might as well give $100 million, because at that point, is it really going to make a difference? Maybe not. If you're not going to betray someone for $1 million, what is your price? I know mine's a whole lot less than that. And I wouldn't hold it against me. I hope no one else would hold it against me either. But someone offers me $1 million. There are a lot of things within a game that I'm willing to do. All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, let's see. 7:54. I knew it was going to go so fast. What else? We were guys going to talk about cold stuff. I talked about being in Russia. Coldest I've ever been was Dead Horse, Alaska, up on the North Slope. Had to work 24-hour shifts up there. So I was there in January, which means the sun never rises. I remember sitting out on rigs, middle of the night. You couldn't tell except you're just sleepy. Drinking coffee to try to stay awake. Of course, if you drink coffee, that means you didn't have to get up and go to the bathroom every once in a while. And they don't have any porta potties up in that neck of the woods. You just kind of go fast. Talking about cold. I remember that. I remember one guy who you always have to plug your cars in when you go in anywhere. And I know some of y'all in Michigan elsewhere have to do that as well. One guy went into the post office, plugged his truck in, didn't realize where he plugged it in wasn't working. Came back out. He had those vinyl type seats in his truck, froze in the span of just 30 minutes. When he sat down, the vinyl all cracked, formed a perfect silhouette of his body because it was so cold up there. Just brutal. I remember going up to do work. The shop we worked at had like 6-foot packs of snow that they had bulldozers move everything out of the way so we could get trucks in and out. I landed in the middle of a class 3 blizzard. I didn't know that. First time I'd ever been up there, class 3 blizzard. I thought that's the way it always was. I get off this plane. The wind is blowing so hard I can't even see in front of me. And I was up there for a month, 5 weeks. I thought, God, this is going to just be brutal. It's before the internet. So there was no internet, no TV. They had a little bit of satellite TV, but you could barely pick it up because you're so far up towards the North Pole and all of that. Just the longest. I always say being gone 3.5 months for Big Brother was tough. Second toughest was being up in Dead Horse, Alaska for five weeks. Now they fed as well because there was nothing else to do. We stayed in a camp that was basically about 20 mobile homes that were just attached one to the other. So some of them were used as little dining facilities. One of them was an exercise room. One of them was a shower, bathroom area. The rest were just a bunch of little rooms that you stayed in. That's where I stayed for five weeks. That was a little tough. Other cold weather place I really remember, Kazakhstan. I flew into Kazakhstan, a little bitty place called Ortusk. I can't remember, Oraltusk, something like that. Anyway, western side of Kazakhstan, kind of the seat of a lot of oil and gas. Landed. There were supposed to be some people picking me up. I didn't realize at the time the people picking me up were native Kazakhs who spoke no English whatsoever. They only spoke Kazakh and a little bit of Russian. I get off the plane. I really need to make a quick pit stop before I travel to out in the middle of nowhere where we're headed. Go into the restroom. This little babushka, little Russian woman or Kazakh woman starts yelling at me. I didn't realize they charge a fee to use the toilets. Now, it was only like a nickel or something, but I had zero Kazakh money, and she would not. I tried to offer a $1 bill, wouldn't take it. Wanted Kazakh money. I had to go out, find the guys who were picking me up, who turned out they were 5 very big, burly, Russian-looking, Kazakh-looking men. Had to figure out how to convey to them with my English and their Kazakh and Russian that I needed just a little bit of change so I could go hit the toilets. Finally, they understood what was going on. Gave me a little spare change. I went in, paid the little babushka woman. We get in the car, and we're driving to the city where I'm going to be staying at for a few weeks while I do some work. It is out in the middle of nowhere. It is snow and cold everywhere. These guys, the only reason I think they're the guys that are supposed to pick me up is because I had a sign with my name on it. That's all I knew. I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I just knew they'd said there'll be someone to pick you up. We're going along after about an hour or so without a car in sight, out in the absolute middle of nowhere, not a car. I haven't seen a car in 30 minutes. This car pulls, and I'm in the back seat with 2 guys on either side of me, 2 men up in the front seat. Said 5, maybe they're 4. I may have been squeezed in with 3 in the back. I was like this the whole time. They're listening to Russian music. They pull off to the side of the road. They all get out. I'm like, I think I'll just stay in the car here. They point at me. Get out, get out. And now they're getting ready to either shoot me or leave me on the side of the road, feed me to the bears or something. I get out. I follow them over to the side of the road. And all of a sudden, they all line up along the side of the road. It's a pit stop. I feel like I'm mentioning that a lot tonight. Not intentional, but it's all them just taking a little moment to relieve the coffee and everything else. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll take advantage of it as well. So the most surreal experience, perhaps, of a lot of things in my life, standing on a road in the middle of nowhere, Kazakhstan, with 5 other guys that we can't communicate with each other at all. And yet just 5 guys taking advantage of the situation and a shared bond of just we're taking care of business, enjoying the environment, enjoying the horizon, enjoying hundreds and hundreds of miles of mountains and snow and nothing but for as far as you can see in every single direction. And we finished up, got back in the car, and fortunately I made it to the city I was going to. We'll finish that up with a real quick story because I know it's 8 o'clock. I got there, went to the local grocery store, which was right next to the little hotel / apartment I was staying at. They had one entire side of this store had nothing but bottled water. I thought, that's a lot of bottled water. Well, then I realized, no, the bottled water only goes halfway. The other half is bottled vodka. They took just like you get bottled water in, they put vodka in it. So not glass bottles, just plastic bottles. Looked exactly the same except for the label. Now, that's a mistake that you won't make twice. But yeah, I realized that as cold as it was in this country, in this city, there was a lot of vodka drinking going on to try to warm up the insides a little bit. The other thing I discovered, they had one big steam facility in the city that generated all the steam for every single business and residence in the entire city. So your status was dependent on how close you were to that steam facility. If you were real close, you got as much steam as you wanted. You could close the vents and your house stayed nice and toasty warm. If you were on the other side of the city, by the time the steam got there wasn't much left and you froze to death. So everyone would always say, how close are you to the steam plant? Oh, you're right next door. Oh, you must be big time here. So yeah, I always thought that was kind of interesting because they didn't have heating at every single house. It was just one central facility that heated everything in the city. All right, I'll tell y'all more stories about Kazakhstan because that was a crazy, crazy little adventure. But with that, we're going to shut it down. Guys, I hope y'all stay nice and warm. Stay off the roads. If it's anywhere like Houston, just stay home and enjoy a fire and some hot cocoa or whatever. There's nothing important enough to be out there doing anything on these roads. No, I'm staying inside. But I hope y'all have a fantastic next week. Again, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel, turning on notifications, giving a big old thumbs up. I'll finish up with a big old SKD 143. Love you guys. Love my wife. Love my kids. Love reality TV. I love y'all spending Monday nights out here. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk to you and the guys who are watching it a little bit later on replay as well. Guys, y'all have a great one. Again, stay warm, stay safe. I will see y'all next Monday. Until then, cheers, my friends. Bye. I'm glad the battery lasted the whole time. All right, guys, y'all have a good one. SKD 143. Cheers.